Now, China deny interfering in UK politics, naturally, after an MI5 alert. The Chinese agent had infiltrated Parliament. The security service said that Christine Lee established links for the Chinese Communist Party with current and aspiring MPs.
Yes, indeed. Well, she then gave donations to politicians, including Labour MP Barry Gardiner, who received more than £420,000 from her.
Yes, absolutely. Anyway, well, let's get all the details now with GB News' Home and Security Editor, the one and only Mr. Mark White. Mark, this story is potentially massive, isn't it?
Yes, it is significant. It's not spying in the traditional sense of the word, the sort of James Bond-style stealing of secrets. But what it is this grey area espionage that's become really quite in vogue of late. And that is effectively, we've seen it in Russia. China are involved in it as well. It's seeking to gain influence, to subvert the democratic process in this country. And as far as MI5 is concerned, this alert is unusual. It's not something that they do very often at all. So they took the decision to alert the parliamentary authorities yesterday. That information was then passed to peers and to MPs, which is why we found out about it. And this Christine Lee, they said, was involved in that activity, as you say, giving hundreds of thousands of pounds, the bulk of it going to the Labour MP, senior Labour MP Barry Gardiner, someone who was a minister in Tony Blair's government and who, of course, was, in the shadow cabinet under Jeremy Corbyn.
It's interesting because I saw Barry Gardiner, actually. I bumped into him, I think it was last Friday, and we were doing a thing about MPs' pay, and he stood next to me by the coffee machine there and said, "Oh, you're the one who wants me to be paid less." Little did we know, eh? But there we go. So what potential...
Didn't offer you a bung or anything.
Didn't offer to pay me any more. That's for sure. No. But what can we expect now for Barry Gardiner? I mean, has this been looked into or what?
Well, he's spoken to a couple of outlets where he says he's very angry at the way he says he has been misled by this woman, Christine Lee. He has severed all contact with her. In fact, her son worked in his office right up until yesterday morning, until he says he was visited by the head of parliamentary security and two MI5 agents. And then he called this young man up and said that he required him to tender his resignation. So he's no longer working for Barry Gardiner, although he also was quick to add that the security service says that there's no indication that this young man was linked in any way to the activities that MI5 say his mother was responsible for. But £420,000 over a number of years given to Barry Gardiner that he says he didn't benefit from directly, that it paid for researchers in his office. I think the question on this that probably has not satisfactorily been answered by Barry Gardiner is he says that he contacted MI5 a few years ago when she offered to give him money, to pay money to fund researchers in his office because it rang alarm bells in his head and he wanted to make sure it was okay with the security services. They apparently, according to him, said that yes, it was okay. But if he felt that it was serious enough for him to approach MI5, then you would think that perhaps it might be an indication to him that he shouldn't be accepting money from her in the first place.
And Mark, do you think that as a society we take these things seriously enough? I mean, when I think about, Chinese spies, it almost harks back to the Cold War. We sometimes say that era is over. But actually, China is on the rise economically and militarily. And is this potentially something that is going to be something that's going to get more and more?
China is, as you say, on the rise, and Russia have been at it for many years as well. It's all about buying influence and placing people in places of influence and getting people from China to make contact with individuals. You could say probably lots of countries are involved in that to an extent, but I think the concern of authorities here is that Russia and China take it a step further, and it really is disruptive and damaging to the way in which a healthy democracy works, to have agents of that country really trying to subvert the democratic process and to ensure that issues that are not conducive to what the Chinese government would like are somehow diverted, that they are influencing people away from issues of concern, like Tibet, like the Uyghur Muslims, things like that. So it's, as I say, it's this grey area espionage that is becoming more of an issue, and it's something that the security services, MI5 and MI6, the authorities in general, are having to turn more of their attention to.
Indeed. Well, it's a concern, isn't it, for everyone? It should be a concern for all of us, the notion that anything like this, anything like the allegations anyway, could be taking place in our home of democracy, I suppose. Mark, thank you very much. Mark White there, our home and security editor. He'll be joining